welcome to the first online webinar of the Estonian Chamber of Commerce in Switzerland. And as people are logging in, I think we should already start. It is a pleasure to welcome you all here, people from different parts, not only Estonia and Switzerland. We are delighted to have Mats Kuuskemaa here as the country director of the e-Residency program for the DACH region. We are very pleased to have Oliver Gasser here with us, a Swiss entrepreneur based in Estonia. He is also an e-resident since 2018 and the founder of Moduulo, company based in Estonia, which was established as an e-resident. And just a few words about myself. I'm Michael Reiss. I am the Honorary Consul of Estonia here in Zurich and founding member and president of the Estonian Chamber of Commerce in Switzerland, which is now a bit more than 1 year old, a private initiative to put entrepreneurs based in Switzerland or Estonia or anywhere where there is an interest in Switzerland and Estonia, to put them together. In my daily life, I'm the global CEO of an organization of law firms and accounting firms called GGI, with 880 offices worldwide. I have the pleasure to represent also some Estonian companies in Switzerland in their Swiss subsidiaries as a director. And the exchange between entrepreneurs and business between Estonia and Switzerland, Switzerland and Estonia is very close to my heart. So we're delighted to kick off the first webinar with this fascinating topic of e-residency, of benefiting from e-residency to establish a company in Estonia with all the advantages and what there is in for Swiss entrepreneurs or any entrepreneur who wants to start a new business. Having said this, I think I would like to also welcome Miriam Lurcher, who is the Vice President of the Estonian Chamber of Commerce and an absolute pillar in making that chamber successful. It's great to have you here, Miriam. And without any further ado, Mats, I think the people are ready. They're eager to hear more about the e-residency program. From my point of view, I'm fascinated. I'm an e-resident since 2023. It's not only about the advantages, administrative advantages, competitive advantages. There is an overarching concept that I like. It's the one of an egalitarian, open, free, democratic society where everybody who wants to contribute as an entrepreneur is welcome. I think that this is a very strong and impressive message for freedom, for democracy, and for entrepreneurship. That's one additional point that I like very much about the e-residency program. Mats, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Michael, for the kind introduction, and to Michael and Miriam for having us as a topic of the, I understand, the first online event. So it's an honor, I have to say. And I will talk today a little bit about how Estonia got a digital state, a little bit about how to become e-resident. And also, I bear in mind that I understand there's a lot of Estonians here as well. So I hope that you can then pass on all this knowledge to other people. But I know that a lot of you know Estonia quite well already. I will share slides with you as well. If you give me moments. So I've done quite a few events in many countries with e-residency, and we always have a little picture of Tallinn Old Town there, which is where I grew up, medieval place. I remember one of my first events when I went to France to represent the e-residency, and there was an e-resident there who said that she'd read that Estonia is a digital country, and then she went to see it, and then she said, "But it looks all medieval. You know, where is the e-state, right? It's in the clouds," is the right answer. But I think what Michael already said is that it is a country that has long traditions, and what we have actually from the medieval times is that because our cities were in the Hanseatic League, we have rule of law, for example, for quite a long time. And in the end, e-residency is really, let's say, a card, an entry to a business ecosystem. And of course, the business ecosystem that Estonia has and the e-state that we have, of course, can really work on trust. And that's why also these traditions are really important that we have in Estonia. So in the 1990s, Estonia had like really the opportunity to renew itself. Very young leaders, very young, the first elected prime minister, 32 years old, people in the government. So I was a diplomat. I started my career as a diplomat for Estonia at 23 years old. And a lot of people who were kind of, let's say, the top people there, they had started even earlier at the time. So if you were 30, you could become an ambassador, for example, immediately in Estonia. So very young people, and they had an opportunity to redesign and rebuild all the institutions in Estonia. So, for example, our legal system, our constitution, very much borrowed from the Federal Republic of Germany, skipping the federalism, that's one thing. Our economic reforms, Estonia followed the IMF, fully, let's say, let everything fail, let all the industry fail, and then afterwards really welcoming foreign investment fully. And all the years that I went to school, Estonia had the average yearly growth of 7.7%. There were, of course, some topics that Estonia didn't have anywhere to go to, and these include digitalization, because essentially, because there was no one to copy. That's why Estonia really itself put all the government services online. And one of the first services that was put online was tax returns in 1999. And after that, a lot more people started to pay tax in Estonia. So this was seen as a success. And of course, then there was an idea that let's try other fields as well. But what Estonia is lucky about is that from early on, we built our e-governance, let's say, in a very integrated way. So we have this interface called X-Road that enables all the sort of 500 plus public and private databases to speak to each other. And there's generally two rules. So one rule is that the state is supposed to ask you one question only once. So for example, one database, the population registry already knows your name and address, then all the other databases have to ask it each time. So broadly, that enables also higher level of data security, because if someone starts to pull out information, then unusual patterns emerge. And then the other rule is, of course, that every person is in charge of their data. So if someone checks your medical record, you can really ask, and you can see it and ask why. And there's been a case in the past where an ex-prime minister was in hospital, 70 doctors checked his medical records, and they got penalized as well for that. Little bit just last things about our e-states maybe. First thing is that it's never ready. It's always been improved. Currently the government is working very hard to put better services on mobile phone, to have a lot of more sort of AI bots to help and get things done. From 2017, we have a data embassy also in Luxembourg. So essentially, if one of you loses their iPhone, you can withdraw the last version, your pictures and your messages and everything. So we can do that also with our e-governance. So if Estonia were to get major cyber attacks, then it might be that we can then basically get the last version sort of back. And that's quite unique. E-residency is broadly, let's say, an idea that after Estonia got a lot of praise for already having a great digital services, the question was that how do we internationalize it? How do we make it, internationally useful? Because it is a small country, it's a bit cold there. It's not a Spain or Portugal where everyone wants to move. So we had to figure how to make it internationally relevant and useful. I will jump out of my slides for 1 second. And after, so it's from 2014 onwards, Estonia introduced this new category of people in its legislation who are e-residents. So these are people who essentially don't live in Estonia, they're not Estonian, so they're not residents or citizens of Estonia, but they're people who have a legal status in Estonia. So essentially anyone can go online and apply for e-residency status. It costs 120 euros to get it. And with that, you can give digital signature that's valid as normal signature in Europe. And you can also start and run a company online. So this was, I would say, somewhat a surprise for us, that it's so very cumbersome in a lot of countries, also in Europe, just to actually be an entrepreneur. So this has been a learning experience. Around half our community comes from EU countries, and around half our community comes, worldwide from various places. But it's interesting that for us, that's also relevant for a lot of EU founders. And the reason for that is, of course, that there's a lot of people are very international. They like to move around, travel, and they can take their company with them. What it's not directly, it's not a travel document, visa, or sort of personal tax residency. But of course, if you do want to move people to Estonia, there are other means for that. There's a thing called digital nomad visa, and there is also a startup visa that allows founders and employees of startups to move. This is what an e-residency kit looks like. So you get a smart card and a card reader. And after that, you can also work with a smart ID app. So you can actually sign documents and enter any systems, and great companies also actually, you can give the digital signature with your mobile phone as well. These are our numbers. So 107,000 people. It would be the second largest city in Estonia if it was a city of e-residents, and mostly it would be men from the age of sort of 20 to 45. So very good taxpayers from that end, a very active age for people. And we also have over 600 Swiss nationals who are e-residents. So very happy about that. And it's always growing every year. And a little bit about who is e-residency most suited for. So what we see is a lot of cross-border services, anything you can sell online and internationally. It's quite easy for them to use e-residency in Estonia. E-commerce is a great sector. So also, technically also, if you think anyone who would sell or export to the EU countries, that's quite useful, because there is the EU sort of VAT OSS scheme as well that people can use. That in a way cut the middleman in a way and pay VAT to all EU member states through one entity. So it's that's also one thing that is useful for. And I would say a lot of highly mobile businesses. That means that founders are in different countries or they're nomads. Again, everything's online. Really doesn't matter whether you sit in Antarctica or Basel or Estonia. It works the same way. And then we see startups, of course, and holding structures for startups that it's used for. Every third Estonian startup has one e-resident founder at least. So we're really happy that our program has also kind of internationalized, diversified our startup ecosystem. And of course, if for some, let's say in cases where, let's say, the founder of the company lives in another country, but they want to really have some substance in Estonia. So that's also what we see, that companies who actually hire employees in Estonia, they can also fully really use our tax system and all the benefits from it. Estonia's startup ecosystem is a unique one. It was very early that we got our first unicorn, which is Skype. So quite a long time ago. And Estonia has had this very favorable employee stock option laws. And that means that every startup produces more startups. So in Germany, we have Grünfin, for example, that one of the founders lives in Germany, but it's both are Estonian ladies. And they always say that they are the grandchild of Skype, because Skype's first employee was one of the founders of Wise, the fintech, and Wise first employee is one of the founders of Grünfin. So they're the grandchild. And this is something that, also, like I cover DACH region, but I stay in Germany. But in Germany, for example, it's very difficult to give employee stock options. And often founders don't give it. And that's one reason why the startup ecosystem hasn't been growing as it could have been maybe in many other countries. And it's a very collaborative ecosystem. I mean, Oliver can tell you more about it, but you can really knock at other people's doors and get information and contacts. And it's not small enough, tight enough that you can really get the, get support from other founders as well. And also Estonia has been quite fast in changing some legislation that is relevant for startups. So Estonia is one of the first to create a ride-hailing law, and of course the biggest competitor of Uber in Europe is Bolt, that is Estonian. So And in a similar way, we're quite early to have AI laws, and we have some autonomous vehicle startups. So it's maybe easier, faster to also change legislation in Estonia. That's really, really important from that end. From the COVID time, we also have online notary services. So it's quite easy to do whatever changes that you need for the Estonian company online. No notary, no paperwork, less time and money spent on it. Big question, do Estonian startups get funded? And we're happy to answer that yes, they do. These are actually 2020, sort of last numbers, but from last year, I think actually it's over 1,000. That is the right number. So it keeps growing. Question also is that it's kind of hard to actually compare countries, because there are many countries that say it's easy here to have a company to run it, but these are numbers from 2019 that compare how long time is spent to pay tax, and Estonia is performing quite well. And if you see there towards the end of Brazil, there's a bit of a problem there apparently with the tax payment, but Estonia has been one of the most efficient tax collectors in the world. That means that spend the least money to collect the most tax, and also a tax office has this client support focus that they kind of send you a friendly explanation usually when you ask for something by email, for example. They really the feeling is that if they are kind of nice, then people are more likely to pay tax. Some comparisons to other countries. So Estonia has one of the experiments from the 1990s that was seen as quite crazy at the time, was that Estonia has this law that there's 0% corporate income tax when you reinvested profits. So whatever you don't take out of your company as profits, as dividends, is taxed at 0. So you only pay a sort of flat 20, that will be next year, 22% corporate income tax on what you take out, and there's no capital gains tax as well. And that's the reason why Estonia is very high on this tax competitiveness index that only looks at OECD countries, but it's #1 for 10 years in a row. So that also is quite a strong point for Estonia, why many founders, many companies who do have a potential to make profits, they like it. And also in a way, there's a lot of countries that are very focused on sort of corporate tax breaks, let's say Netherlands or Ireland. So Estonia really works for small people as well, small companies. They can benefit from it. I always mention that corruption and perception index, rule of law index, where we kind of copied Germany a little bit, and this is paid off well. So Estonia is performing quite well. In the rule of law index, I believe there's 140 countries, quite a number there. This is the journey for people who want to become e-resident. Hopefully, some of you will take this step in the future, or your friends will. The only trouble, of course, is the pickup location. I'll tell you a little bit about that later. We don't have currently anything officially in Switzerland, but we do have embassy in Vienna that regularly visits Switzerland. They don't have a next date set, but it should be the sort of first half a year 2024. So not super fast, but if you're willing to sort of maybe go to Vienna, maybe get it in Switzerland, then you can apply and order to Vienna. And of course, you would need an Estonian address if you start a company. So we have service providers for that, and we have, I think, 1 or 2 that are also represented here today. Can introduce themselves later. And you can register your company, of course, online. And we did last year, we did a world record with the fastest establishment of a company in 15 minutes and 33 seconds. And we have a number of fintechs and banks that are on our marketplace that people can get a fintech account mostly and get it done online. Some last points that Estonia has is one company type, our sort of GmbH, which is called OÜ, so U with umlauts. There's no shareholder capital. Very easy to change any sort of activities or anything that you do, add directors there. Everything's online and fast. And also Bolt, for example, a unicorn is still an OÜ. So it works for small, it works for larger companies as well. It's what our marketplace looks like. So you can actually click around there, compare the prices, see who could support you. So we have different services there. We also have country-to-country tax advisors, so also Switzerland to Estonia ones. So this is good to have, and different services you might need. we've collected some feedback from our community. What they say about Estonia is often that there's this level of trust in a way that they know what is expected of them, in a way that they don't get these angry letters usually from tax office, but everything works in an understandable way. And from that sort of the time that is left over from bureaucracy, they can really invest in growing their business. And also there's many who kind of participate actively in our community as well. So a lot of founders who kind of help each other and share knowledge and information. These are some faces from our community. I have to say Dr. Merkel and the Pope, they don't have a company yet. They're looking for business ideas, of course. But there are many startup founders, many freelancers, sort of management consultants, IT developers, people from all over different fields of life who become e-resident. So this is Dominic. He's an Austrian. He was part of the world record crowd. So three different founders who were part of this company, Sign Online. Damir has a company. They do technology for commercial airliners. So if you watch a movie on an airliner, it might be their technology. And the global headquarters of the company is in Estonia. So they can, from that end, sort of win from bureaucracy and tax-wise and time-wise. These are Ian and Luke, so they're business partners. One of them is based in near St. Gallen, and the other one is in Korea. And they, again, work, full-time, but together with the companies, but the company is based in Estonia, and that they made it work well. Fifi is a South African e-resident. So for non-EU, what's interesting, what she said is that she could actually charge people a lot more money once she got an Estonian company. So that's it's different value for different countries. Viviana, she's a kind of a nomad person, and she's just traveling around, has HR teams working from various countries. Stefan is a climate refugee from Germany living in Bali. Again, finds it easier to sell products to EU with an Estonian entity. Allagan has a big startup team, 120 people in Sri Lanka. This is a little bit of information, just what I kept here. There's embassy details as well, that you can contact them, ask them when they're coming next. But currently it should be, sort of first half a year, definitely. This is my contact details, but we'll also pass you these for the follow-up. So thank you very much. And I really look forward to interesting discussion, and I look forward to hearing also how Oliver is doing in Estonia. So thank you.
Yes, hello. Thank you for having me in your first webinar. I will look a little bit at the practical side of my story, how I came to Estonia and why. Hope that helps a couple of Swiss entrepreneurs to go the same way. Yeah. Let me share my slides. Can you see them? So I'm working in a boring industry, the accounting industry, and the main thing we are doing is actually digitalization. And Mats already mentioned a lot of digitalization in Estonia and the whole story of digitalization in Estonia. And I'm very happy that I can actually profit from that system and also learn a lot. I will do it as a startup, yes. Let's talk about problem and solutions. And then a little overview of what my company does, and then why we are actually doing it here in Estonia. Yes? So how I came to arrive in Estonia. So one of the first problems we are solving is we are working with accounting firms all over in Europe. And the problem they have is actually they can't really scale and they can't really build wealth. Let me say it a little bit simple, yes. You can scale an accounting firm by hiring more accountants, because one accountant can actually deal with a certain number of companies, 30 to 50, depends a little bit on the size. So if you want to scale up your company, you have to hire more accountants. And you can't really build wealth neither, because the money which comes in from your customer goes out for salaries. I know this is a little bit simplified, yes. But everybody is happy with that. They get decent salaries, but that will not be enough to buy your yacht or building up wealth. Yeah. So the way to solve that is actually you have to become digital. You have to make all the processes automated. And we are actually dealing with the last step of automation, and I will come to that. Now, accountants have customers, and those customers have another type of problem. They actually never have accurate data because the accountant is actually working after that the business transaction happened. It's actually registering all these business transactions, but it takes a while till that is done. Yeah. In Estonia, if you are obligated to submit VAT or personal declarations because you have employees, it's up to date once a month. But to some companies, it's even up to date only once a year. And I know from Switzerland, from my own experience, that it's really kind of long taking till the financial data are actually accurate. They are accurate once a year. Now, if a founder needs to go to meet some investors, for example, then he would need to have accurate data. If a small company needs to go to talk to a bank, it would need to have accurate financial data. It can't wait till the accountant has done his job. Yeah. So there also we have a fantastic stream of digitalization possibilities. Make those data which are already existing flowing into your financial system in a very, very speedy way, at least being accurate day to day. Yeah? So that's what we are actually solving. So we are a software startup on one side, and we are building software which helps us becoming the data clearing center for accountants in Europe, accounting firms in Europe. We process their data into their accounting systems and deal the whole automation flow for them. We use artificial intelligence to solve the bookkeeping issues which you have. And I know, Michael, you are at the head of many bookkeeping firms. One of the big issues is actually account assignments, Kontierung in German. And that is mainly never done automatic. It's mostly done manual. There is an accountant which decides into which account goes what expense or what income. And we are actually solving that by using AI-based processes which help us do that automatically and have that last step, which is not digitalized, actually being digitalized. And our way of thinking is actually we disconnect the accountant from its customer. Yeah, we are more kind of like a call center software where tasks come in and the accountants actually classify these tasks without to know for which customer they do that. It doesn't. There is no need of this connection between the customer and the accountant. On the other hand, the end customer of the accounting firms, yeah, we're delivering them a small software tool which allows them to see their financial data and to have actually more intelligent templates to go to talk to investors, to go to talk to banks based on their actual real data and some simulations of what will be in the future, which is also not just glass ball looking, but real based on real data. So again, artificial intelligence, which does the simulations. So that's where we are working at. Now, if I speak about AI, then there must be data. AI is not possible with data. So we have actually built our own very traditional bookkeeping accounting firm. We deal with a couple of customers all over the world, and especially also incorporated in European countries. And these customers actually delivers us the basic stream of data, which we can then use to train our models and do the software part. So our vision is actually that by 2026, no accounting firm and no small, medium enterprise or startup has to do bookkeeping anymore. Now, yes, it's a vision. It's a very challenging goal, but we are working here. And you see that we are breathing digitalization. It's only possible with digitalization. And there is no better country in the world than Estonia for learning how digitalization works, for having very, very young people around here which have lived digitalization, which breathe digitalization. And people we can actually access very easily in this small country. Yes, there is 1.3 million inhabitants, but all of them are entrepreneurs. All of them have a mindset of having gone through digitalization. They just live it. It's in their gene. Yes. And they build a lot of products around digitalization. And when we talk to such kind of founders, such kind of presidents of accounting chambers, other counselor for ministry, they leave digitalization. We can learn from them. And we're actually implementing that into our software. So I'll stop sharing now and start to tell a little bit about my story. Why did I actually go the way of e-Residency? I started in 2018 to look around because I had a digital agency in Mendrisio in Ticino, Italian part of Switzerland. And I was not very successful with that. Ticino is a hard market, very traditional people. The mindset is we have done the things we do since 100 years. Why should we change? So there is actually a kind of blocked mental mindset. And I was building a simple ERP tool. That ERP tool had no particular unique selling point. So I was actually looking around on how can I actually start to sell that product. And one of the decisions was that I need a legal entity. And then knowing that in Switzerland you need actually 20,000 Swiss francs to build a GmbH, knowing also that it must be a legal structure and not a personal structure, also keine, wie sagt man, keine Personenfirma, sondern no freelance, no sole trader, yes, it must be a legal entity. So how can I do that, yes? 20K was not possible for me. Then also the fact that creating a company in Switzerland is quite expensive, it's quite long, and also to run the company afterwards is expensive. Let's think about the social security plans that you have to have as a GmbH, Personalvorsorge and these type of keywords, yes, makes it very expensive to run. And so I was kind of Googling around and then fell over a couple of solutions, but they were all smelling a little bit tax evasion. They were all smelling a little bit kind of weird, Malta, Cyprus, and other countries. So I was not very happy with that. And pops up Estonia and e-Residency. And for the first time, I saw a way of being able actually to create a company in Europe and do that in a electronic way, not have to move there, no notary to do it. And that's the decision why we actually became e-Residency in that time. Then we had a little bit, we were a little bit lucky. We participated in what is called a hackathon organized by e-Residency, where we actually got into touch with our first trip to Estonia. And we saw a fantastic world here. I was at Startup Days in Tartu with a stand, and I experienced people coming to ask you what you are doing. The Estonians are geniusly interested in what is going on, what people do. Yes, they want to see what they do. Can we use that for our own progress? And this open mindset, which I never had in Switzerland, is actually something which really bluffed me. Yes. And then what we experienced also is we got access to an accelerator here in Tallinn, and we started our startup way with my old awful ERP system, and then started to understand that this will not be commercial. You cannot sell that software as it is. Yeah, it was not unique. It was not very good in digital processes. And we started to pivot about 3 times. We went through invoicing, automation of invoicing, and then started to talk and really started to crystallize out what are the digitalization process in what we are doing actually, and working and concentrating around that. So that's maybe my story of how it went. And I was actually very bluffed always by Estonia, and I'm still bluffed always now also about how things works. Let me tell you an anecdote here. When I applied for my VAT number, I remember how it was in Switzerland. Yeah, in Switzerland you had to fill out a paper form, send it to Bern, to the tax authorities. And about 3 weeks later, I got a letter with the certificate that I now have a VAT number. And unfortunately, I did a mistake. I wrote an email to Bern and said, hey, what are my obligations now? It took another 5 or 6 weeks, I don't remember exactly, that to get a big parcel from Bern with 3 Bundesordner documents, yeah, this thing with all the tax law in there and all the obligations and all the checklists, and so kind of huge packages. Now, fast forward to Estonia. You log in digitally to EMTA, you click one check mark, you say that you want to have a VAT number. 5 minutes later, you get an email. Are you aware that you do not need to have that if you do not have 40K turnover? Why would you want to have it still? Yeah, because we start to deal with Estonian companies, with the accelerator mainly. And another 5 minutes later, I got a certificate, you are now a VAT number. But the real anecdote is another thing. The real anecdote happened 4 hours later, the same afternoon, where I got an email from the tax authorities asking me if I were happy with their services. And that totally knocked me off my socks, because I never had any tax authorities asking me if I were happy with their services. Yes? And that's the mindset which is going on in this country here. They want to make their digital services good. They leave digitalization. Yes, it's making the business easy, and the whole law around startups, the whole law around companies is done the same way. Yeah. Tax, for example, you do not pay corporate tax. I mean, that's important. In Switzerland, if you win one Swiss francs, you actually pay tax on it immediately. Yes. In Estonia, as long as the money stays in the company, and that's what startups normally do. Yeah, they let the money in the company and they start to invest and build other stuff around. Yes, why should they pay tax for? Yes, so this tax system, the way of thinking of the Estonian people, is actually driven towards entrepreneurship. I have not come across any Estonian who does not have his own company. Yeah. This mindset is one of the most important things for me. Yeah. So yeah, we are building digital products. We learn from the digitalization which we experience here, and we have cool advantages. Yes, everything is transparent here. There is no hidden thing. The usage of your data is transparent. I mean, you can log into your ESD website and see who has watched what of your data and why. You can go against that. And I think that the digitalization in Estonia works because of this transparency, because people trust the authorities who do these digital services, because people wanted to have that. And that's something I observe why it's not working actually in Switzerland. Yeah? You don't trust private companies delivering private digital ID cards. Yes? If it's done by the government, then it has another level. Yeah. It's extremely easy to manage your business. It's extremely easy to deal with the government and submit all your stuff. And in Switzerland, it's always quite complex. Okay, I know it has evolved a little bit since the time I moved over here, but it's still kind of a hassle. Yeah. In Estonia, everything is at 1 or maximum 2 clicks of your mouse away. And annual reporting, for example, it takes us normally 5 minutes to do the annual report for our companies and also those of our customers. And another advantage is Estonia is EU. So startups incorporated in Estonia are actually EU companies, EU startups. You can access to grants and funds. That's way easier than from Switzerland, where it's a little bit more complex. And yeah, these are my actual main reflection why and how we went. Yeah. Now I took the decision to become a resident. So technically I'm not an e-resident anymore, but I have gone through that process. And the decision to establish here my private life is also around the ecosystem of entrepreneurship and startups. Yeah. So that's how my story went through. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Oliver. That was very inspiring, and being conscious about the remaining almost 20 minutes we have, I take the opportunity to first also welcome Ingmar Matus, who's here. He is a member of the board of the Estonian Chamber of Commerce and one of the founders, co-founders of Tickmill Group, very impressive corporation. And also to say hello to Igor and Aneta, Igor Reichel-Counts and Aneta from Magrat, which is a founding member of the Estonian Chamber, and I'm sure that they might want to add a bit to the possibilities that their firm offers for future e-residents, since we have them here. And then maybe we open it to questions and answers to anybody you feel comfortable with.
Sure. So who starts, Ingmar or?
You can start then. Go ahead.
Igor, the floor is yours. I just wanted to welcome Ingmar.
Yeah. Hello, everyone, and yes, thank you, Michael, for this introduction, and we're really happy to be here, happy to see you all, and well, I think Oliver has mentioned some of the things that are more efficient in Estonia than Switzerland, but I just wanted to defend Switzerland a little bit and say we are also learning a lot from Switzerland, and I think there is a symbiosis or there's something Estonia can is something Switzerland can benefit from Estonia and Estonia's experience, and there are many things where Estonia can benefit from Switzerland and Swiss experience. So it's I'm often in Switzerland, and it's not all that bad in Switzerland. But yeah, thank you, Oliver. I just wanted to really stress this fact that Estonia, which Oliver mentioned, that Estonia is really one of the few countries in the world, I would say, where tax authority treats you as a customer. That's their concept, which I think is quite unique to Estonia. And whereas many countries are moving now in the direction of digitalization and digital services, I would say Estonia is still ahead. But this advantage, I think we still have an advantage. Many people are after us, and it's good. It's good that there is this competition. But this attitude that the tax authority treats you as a client and not as a criminal at the onset. I think this is some of the this is one of the reasons which our clients mentioned to us why they want to come to Estonia and establish their business here. I would say yes, a lot of accounting and tax processes are digitized and much more unified than streamlined than in other countries. There's still many issues where you cannot just go to AI and ask what is the right way to do it. Because you ask two different people in the tax authority and you get three different answers. So this is maybe where we as a firm come in, and this is what our clients value, that on top of all the digitalization, you still need people who can support you. It's still a new country for you, and you want to make sure you're doing everything right. And while there are accounting firms that are totally digital, 100% digital, there are still people around in the market who say, yeah, I value the digitalization, but then I want someone to talk to, you know, and this is where we as Magrat want to be, and really support our clients, not only in the digital way, but also in a person to person way. So welcome to all who are considering, you know, coming to Estonia, establishing their business here, and we are here to support you. And if you have any questions, I'm sure we can share our contacts and you know, continue the discussion.
Thank you very much. And I think that in the particular case of Swiss entrepreneurs who want to set up business in Estonia, we can all travel to Estonia, and I strongly recommend it to anybody who has not yet been there. I'm very proud of the fact that a lot of Ukrainian entrepreneurs are also using e-residency services and are in business through Estonian companies based on the e-residency program, of course, based on the hardship and the difficulties they are facing right now. That makes me very proud that this is possible. We're in the very lucky position that we can freely travel, so don't be shy and visit Estonia if you haven't done so yet. Igor and Aneta and their entire team are delighted to welcome you there. So let's use the last couple of minutes for some questions, if there are here questions from the participants. To any of us, Oliver, Mats, myself, anybody.
I just wanted to quickly add a couple of things. So firstly, if anyone wants to travel to Estonia, then the good times to really meet a lot of the ecosystem are Startup Day in Tartu. So this is a 3-day startup festival in number 2 city in Estonia. This will happen end of January, and we have also a special code if someone wants to go there for e-residents or interested parties. And then the second one is Latitude 59. So there's always sort of community events that we do, and you can meet a lot of the service providers and ecosystem at the same time. But of course, you can come. You're welcome anytime. But these are good times to come. And for Ukrainian nationals, we still have an ongoing campaign. So Ukrainians who apply for e-residency and start a company in Estonia, they can get these fees, the state fees, reimbursed later. So there's also information about that. So happy to share this.
Besides that, traveling to Estonia is also interesting for the country. I know Switzerland has a lot of mountains, but Estonia has beaches, and in summer it's even very warm, and you can actually really enjoy beach. And there is a fantastic landscape through all the country. People are very friendly, very gastfreundlich. I don't know the English word for that. To help you out in Estonia, find your way through. So hospitality is very, very cool here, yes. So it's a country to discover, not only for the business side. Yeah? So travel here and come along here, and you will feel very comfortable. Also with food, for example, food is not that much different, yes. So you find yourself home if you are Swiss.
I think there was a question from Gabriela. I thought you were waving, or was that no? So no questions. It seems we made our point very clear. Maybe Mats, you could elaborate a little bit more also on the community or e-residency community, which I found also very inspiring to see all the different firms and entrepreneurs. You might want to elaborate a little bit on that, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. So it's quite a number of people in our program, of course. So it's always for us, it probably gives us most energy and interest actually to work with our community members. It's a lot of founders who are very, very international. How they share information. We have a big Facebook group, e-Residents of Estonia, with 24,000 members. So also sometimes when people are not sure about something, they can actually post a question there or say that I'm in Budapest. Does anyone have time for a coffee? We also do events quite regularly. So if you, by the way, I think anyone who signed up, you'll be automatically in our mailing list. You can always unsubscribe, but we try to do events and webinars, and we also invite our sort of members to, bigger startup events and try to give them speaking opportunities. We have our own mailing list of 150,000 people, I think, globally. So we try to do e-resident stories. We also have like a company list where e-resident companies can sign up and kind of find each other. We have a chamber for e-residents by e-residents, which is called Erica. They can be a member of this, and they also do their own events, and they also look at that e-residents' interests are filled, by Estonia. So there's really many ways to engage with us, but we let's say we try to put a lot of focus on community in general, and also we try to do these ecosystem trips for, like, let's say a lot of sort of startup type companies to Estonia once in a while as well, so they can really get to know and also connect more with the Estonian startup ecosystem. Because in the end, if it's only one founder, they live in Switzerland, then they and all the businesses there, they don't maybe benefit from it so much. But again, if they in the future do something more also in Estonia, like Oliver, or have an employee there or an office or something, and tie the company a little bit more to Estonia, then it's easier also to kind of benefit from Estonia's ecosystem. So this is also like a field where we try to support our community quite a lot. I also want to add, you can also write a question in the chat if that's easier for some of you.
Thank you so much. I would also like to say hi here as well. Thank you so much for the fantastic presentation. And sometimes if you don't have the business idea ready just yet, it's also nice to apply for the e-residency if you are really connected to Estonia, and then recommend further and do the experience as well. We do have here a huge Estonian fan in the audience, I see, who is e-resident and who has been also recommending Estonia further and being, the connection between Switzerland and Estonia. Eve, maybe you would like to elaborate as well. How has been your e-resident experience so far? And maybe something you would give a special tip. When Oliver said nice beaches, maybe you have something else to add.
Yeah, thank you very much. So as you can see, I'm an e-resident since 21. And actually, so I decided to become a e-resident, not because of business reasons, but I'm working at the University of St. Gallen, and from time to time, I'm also teaching courses on the Baltics and Estonia, and to tell the students a bit more about the Estonia approach. I thought it's really useful to be a e-resident myself. But I have to say that I really learned about the advantages for the qualified digital signature, which is very easy to use. So it's already included in the Adobe program, and also for the daily life in Switzerland, makes many things very easy because you can sign digital and it's widely accepted. So it's really a good point. But talking about the advantages of Estonia, I guess we have 6 more minutes. It's not enough to tell about my journey, but I have to say that I can really agree with all people recommending Estonia before that. It's a great country. So I also really like the atmosphere, entrepreneurial atmosphere, but also the old and long culture, the diverse history of the country. And I have to say, really, the positive spirit, also connected to the heart of Europe, and also compared to the rest of the Baltics. So for G, we did an excursion to the Baltics in June, and talking about the differences, the Lithuanians and the Latvians said that, you see, we are not Estonia, but we are doing quite well. So as you can see that Estonia at the moment is really a benchmark also for the Baltics, and also then asking further, so what's the difference between Latvians and Estonians? That said, Estonians are really good to see the glass more than half filled, rather the opposite, and you really can feel this spirit. So just a non-business approach on e-residency and Estonia.
Perfect. I have just been informed that we actually have 1.5 hours, so we can be a little bit more relaxed about that. That's when you're an e-resident, you have a bit more time. There is this motto of Visit Estonia now, where they say it is about time. So it's about time to go there, and it's about your own time, and so on. So it seems to really work very much. With this new treasure of time found, I'm sure that we have more input. We can have again, feel free to ask questions. Maybe we could also jump a bit into the concrete stage. Igor or Aneta could help us to walk through. So once you have your e-residency, how fast, if you don't want to beat the 15 minutes constitution time, does it take to have a company and be in business? And how much will that roughly cost, to have an idea?
Oh, well, basically, the hardest, the longest preparation part is actually to get your e-residency card. So you apply online. You have to pick it up physically from an embassy or when the embassy visits. So that takes normally between 3 and 8 weeks. And then once you have your card ready, you're all set, because basically you can log in. Yeah, you can try to bid the 15 minutes record, but normally within an hour your company is established. Or like what else do you need? Normally you would need a contact person service, and you can choose a service provider from the list on the marketplace, e-residency marketplace. There you have ratings, comments, so you can really choose the service provider that suits your needs. We will be very happy if you choose McGrath, of course. You know, we are there as well in the list. What will it cost? The state fee right now is 265 euros. So and the contact person service for a year, it costs something between 100 and 200 euros per year. So basically you're all set. Of course, then you need to choose an accountant. Of course, if you're accounting guru like Oliver, you can do your accounting yourself. but most people choose a local accountant, and of course there the cost of service depends on the volume of work and whether you want an automated service or more of a personal touch. So there again, go to the e-residency marketplace, learn about different service providers, and choose the one that suits your needs best. So I hope I answered your question.
Thank you very much. Mats, another question to you. Maybe you can share one or two stories of the most amazing startup you have seen happening through an e-resident, or maybe also the largest e-residency based company right now, or something that is present for you as a shining example.
So the best example probably is Glia, which is a unicorn. So they have one of their founders is an e-resident from Colombia. So it's often actually that people sort of start the company as e-resident, but then at some point they also maybe move to Estonia, spend a bit more time there. But we do see e-resident companies also increasingly sort of raising funds and being on a picture. And in the end, as I said, every third Estonian startup has at least one e-resident founder. So from that aspect, it's really the value is really that you can run the company from wherever, and really like it's easier to kind of really diversified our ecosystem. So we're really happy about this. But there are really many use cases, I would say, from various fields, also from Germany, that we see coming up. Yeah, there's a question also from Gabriela. I see raised your hand.
Yes, hello. I'm following the e-residency program since the beginning, getting the newsletters, and I observe and I see that the most enterprises are like in the financial industry or IT. So I'm asking myself if there are also examples of, for cultural managers, for example. Myself, I have a business in Switzerland, which is in the Handelsregister, which is officially registered. I understood from Yves that he is a private e-resident, so I could do that too, maybe. And so my question would be, or my question, if I should move my Swiss company to e-residency, or if I would need to build a new one, because I'm doing projects, cultural projects in Switzerland and Hungary, or between Switzerland and Hungary and Switzerland and Estonia.
Well, it sounds like a very nice field that you're in. First of all, I did not mention we do have many people from actually cultural fields, because again, creative industries, it's so international. People are so much traveling. They're doing international projects and things. Absolutely, we actually look more into how we can support these industries more. What I would say is that you would probably need to speak to one of the tax advisors to look into your case. What could make sense maybe is to use the Estonian entity for the international projects, and EU projects. This could really bring more value for you, and could be easier for you again to operate. And maybe also if you have a business partner in another country, for example, to do it together with them might make sense, might create a lot of value. If you have a lot of very local business, maybe the Swiss entity could be better for that one. Again, also tax-wise, it's always possible to create this sort of permanent establishment, like a tax establishment of the Estonian company in Switzerland, and then do the Swiss bureaucracy on that. But again, it's just that you would need to talk to a kind of a tax advisor and see what makes sense. In Germany also, we see a lot of people who have like a freelancer status at home in Germany, because that's easier to run than a GmbH here. And then they have an Estonian company for their international work. So it really depends on your case. Happy to have a chat with you at some point, but I think maybe quick sort of chat with one of the tax advisors, that we have a couple on our marketplace as well who do Switzerland and Estonia, so would be good.
Thank you.
I agree with Mats that it's not only for IT people, it's not only for financial people. We have clients from all over across the board. Basically, we have lecturers who sell their lectures through their e-residency company. We have language teachers who teach courses through their Estonian company. Psychologists who sell their psychological services. So it's not only for computer geeks, I would say. And yeah, and on another note, I do agree with Mats that first of all, especially for your Swiss business, you should contact local tax advisor to check if doing that from an Estonian company would be viable. But like broadly speaking, for all of your international business, I think e-residency company would be a good choice. And of course, if you do choose to use e-residency, I think a more straightforward option would be to start a new company in Estonia rather than move your existing Swiss company to Estonia or establish. I mean, you cannot establish a branch yet through e-Residency. So a more straightforward option would be to start a new greenfield company through e-Residency once you obtain the e-Residency card.
And if I may add, Gabriela, you can perfectly have a Swiss company and an Estonian company and become a member of the Estonian Chamber. We'll give you a discount. So both firms in, only one fee, absolutely no problem.
I know a couple of coaches and mentor people also, which do sell their services all over Europe. Yes, so okay, I'm coming from the startup world, so that there is a lot of coaches around, but they actually do that over Estonian companies as well.
Igor, I wanted to ask you about so if Gabriela would, for example, open the company through the e-Residency, so how should she handle bank relationships? Because obviously she would need a bank account.
Mhm.
So I know that some banks, they would want you to come physically to the branch, some don't. So what is kind of the best route for her in that sense?
I think, well, if you are not, if your business is not related to Estonia, if you don't have employees in Estonia, or like Oliver, you do not move to Estonia, then the bank for the banking options, you would probably need to go not to Estonian banks, but to other financial service providers who are also on the e-Residency marketplace. Most popular platforms would be Wise, Paysera, Revolut, which is a good option, which actually has a banking license in Lithuania, and many e-residents have turned to them. So and these are just a few names. You can find many more names on the e-Residency marketplace and choose a financial service provider. And there is really if you're like a service business, there is no really a big difference whether you're using a payment service provider or a bank, and in many cases payment service providers are more efficient. And now you also have Revolut, who has actually a banking license and this deposit guarantee. So you, if you really want to have an account with a bank, a Revolut will be a good option. But yeah, if your business is not related to Estonia, then Estonian banks are probably not an option.
Yeah, I would add to Ingmar your question. I think when e-Residency was launched, then the fintechs were not really that developed, and then people went to Estonia to get the traditional bank account. But now it's not really even a topic. You know, it's really, I would say that maybe people will get sort of transfers in the hundreds of thousands or something. It's easier to have a traditional bank account, but there are also more sort of boutique-focused fintechs where you pay a fee, but you have a direct, account manager and everything. So there's not so much difference between the fintech banks and traditional banks anymore. Maybe you don't get business loans and certain services, but otherwise, yeah, for most e-residents who sort of, let's say, small companies, that fintech banks work really, really well. But we're always working to kind of get more option to our marketplace. So, but e-residents can choose any bank or fintech that gives them an EU IBAN. So that's the rule. They don't need to have a choice from our marketplace, for example.
There are certain business models where it might rise into a little problem if you have an Estonian corporation company, but not an Estonian IBAN number. Yeah. So if you go to Wise or Revolut, then you will have probably a Belgium or Luxembourg IBAN number, and that will, for example, not be able to be registered as Estonian company. If a Belgian IBAN number, if you want to open up an Amazon selling identity or something. So there are some tricky situations, but most of the cases, if you deal with Estonia, and you said before, Gabriela, that you have events in Estonia, you will have probably Estonian partners, and that would also allow you to go to talk to directly Estonian banks, because that anchorage with Estonia is existing. Otherwise, go the wise way, Wise as a company. Yeah, that's the easiest one.
Yeah, this is, I would say, mostly an e-commerce issue. I think other topics, if you don't have PayPal or Amazon or sales, it's not usually not really a problem. So just not to worry unless you're, I think, in that field particularly.
Igor, I know you are also very experienced with the Swiss reality. What is your take with Estonian e-residency companies and Swiss bank accounts? Do you have any experience in that regard?
Yeah, I mean that's what we do a lot. We help Estonian companies, including e-residence companies, get accounts with Swiss banks, and this may be especially important for those who are involved in commerce, not e-commerce, but commerce of physical goods and large volumes where you do need a traditional bank rather than payment service provider. And this is where Swiss banks and Liechtenstein banks have really come to help. And a lot of our customers have who have Estonian companies, they've actually opened accounts with Swiss or Liechtenstein merchant banks. So yeah, and of course those who are interested in Swiss financial services, which are really highly developed and you can use Swiss platforms to invest in any asset class, and so well, Switzerland is the country for financial investment. So other clients of ours who are in financial investments, they've used Swiss banks and their services on that side. But of course the competition is great. Once you are prepared to invest a certain amount, there are many banks around Europe and the world which will be happy to open an account. But Switzerland is a good place for that.
Thank you very much. Mats, I was thinking you might want to share with us the craziest e-residency story, not according to our standards of craziness, but the most weird, where you thought if you would see that on Netflix, you would not believe it. Weird, exotic, or also amazing and impressive, not just in commercial terms, but maybe of the spirit of this e-residency community.
Yeah, you need to give me a little bit of time on that one, but I mean, what we would get Netflix series, of course, is that Estonia was very, very open to crypto initially, giving a lot of crypto licenses, and some stories grew out of that. And Estonia learned that we had to be more conservative on this topic. So currently, it's quite hard to get a crypto license, but there were some, let's say, Wirecard style stories going on. So. I would say these are some to look into, but actually this is something that I will go back to our team and ask for this, because it's a brilliant question that no one has asked me before.
I was thinking of some sort of cool runnings type of thing where, say, 2-3 people from different parts of the planet came up with an amazing business idea and they opted for an Estonian company.
I mean, we definitely have. I mean, even in Berlin, I keep meeting people who do really interesting things. There's one chap who one of his businesses is that he takes photos of like millionaires' villas in Tenerife and he gets a percentage of it, you know, with his residency company. So there's really, I think, there is not a field where e-residents are not in. And we did this creative industries webinar recently, and then there was one gentleman from oil and gas. So it's also like any industry is creative. So it's always there's no field where there's no e-resident, that's for sure.
And Mats, you had in your slides, you had Luke and Ian. Yeah, I know both of them, and those are both two crazy people. Yeah, Luke is American, Ian is American, Luke is residing in St. Gallen or near St. Gallen, Ian is residing in Seoul, and together they decided to create a Google Maps competitor, yes, which is called Stadia Maps, and which actually works very well, super documented and absolutely easy to integrate in any developing in any software product, yes. And so and if you know those two guys personally, both are really crazy people.
Yeah, I think this is also a part that you can actually reach out to other e-residents and ask for, you know, kind of how things have worked for them. And Luke, by the way, he pays himself a salary in Switzerland under his Estonian company. So that is also a thing that can be done. So in a way, so he does the salary taxes then locally here in Switzerland.
One of the I don't know whether I should call it crazy, but a really impressive story for me, which is quite recent. We have a client of ours, two girls. One lives in Morocco and has a Moroccan and French citizenship, and her partner actually lives in Egypt. And what they do, they teach Arabic to people, you know, and it turns out it's multi-digit turnover business, and they had a US company. They got their fingers burned in Silicon Valley Bank, nearly got close to losing their money in there. So they started to look for place to start their company to relocate their business, and they found Estonia. They do not speak English very well. We communicated in French, but really nice people, and impressive and an impressive business. So yeah, and they live in two different countries, in actually North Africa, and they chose Estonia as their basis. So I don't know, Michael, is this crazy enough?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. Yeah, and I think that these stories are fascinating because you have entrepreneurs from different parts of the world that create and establish a company, which is then de jure and de facto an Estonian company. But the idea behind it, or the owners behind it, are not necessarily Estonians, but they identify with all these values and the liberties and the advantages that Estonia offers. And I find that very appealing, and it's also very inspiring and motivating, because it adheres to the values we all endorse and we all stand for. Mats, I was wondering if you might want to share another question, where you say, look, if you are, for example, trading with real goods or any sort of business model where you would say it's not really the right thing for an e-residency company?
So, I mean, if you trade with real goods, you just need to look at your tax situation, essentially, and it really matters where the warehouse, how the goods move and where they move from. So, but for non-EU traders, actually having an EU entity might make a lot of sense. It's just that Estonia is not exactly next to Switzerland, so you kind of need to look at it how logistically it's fair enough. Where do you pay your tax? But from a VAT payment, again, if you have a lot of B2C customers, for example, and you do something online or e-commerce or something, it might actually make a lot of sense, because then you can really save the VAT part. But what it doesn't make often sense is that if it's very localized, if you sell ice cream in your village, you probably need a Swiss company, or the Estonian company needs to be fully taxed in Switzerland. And if you don't have this international aspect to it, then you kind of don't get the benefits, but you get a little bit of double reporting. But again, if you want to save yourself the 25,000 or 50,000 Swiss francs of shareholder capital, that again, you can do it technically. So like they're always, it's really, every case is individual, but I would say it's a very localized business, then Estonian company doesn't make so much sense. But in the end, what really matters is just that everyone does their tax right and gets the right support. And that's why we try to get more tax advisors on board always to support our community.
What is also very important is please talk to professionals, talk to the people on the marketplace, talk to tax advisors, analyze your situation and your plans, and do not listen to Facebook posts, because there is a lot of wrong information around, a lot of beliefings which are actually not fully correct or not for your situation correct. Yes. So I think as an entrepreneur or future entrepreneur, you have to prepare your stuff and you have to think through your stuff and work with professional partners to really prepare your steps before you go into an adventure.
Very, very good point, Oliver. Tax advice through the internet is still, especially in the cross-border aspect, it's still calling for trouble. Maybe one other aspect that we could look at here before the end of this webinar is we have in Switzerland an unemployment rate of about 2%. Finding staff is difficult, it's expensive, it's a challenge, and so on. How can Swiss entrepreneurs benefit from having an Estonian company and staffing it in Estonia? Maybe, Mats, I know, well, not maybe, I know you have a profound knowledge in this regard.
So we're actually just preparing one pages and a blog post on this topic together with Deal, which is quite experienced in employing people everywhere to really bring out the Estonia's benefits in this field. But I would sum up, I think, something that Oliver initially said, that Estonia is trying to be a state for entrepreneurs. So in a way, we have always had very lax labor laws, in a way that you can actually, if you want to let a person go, you have to let a person go. You can actually pay them as an employer like a 3-month salary. You remove the job, you pay them a 3-month salary, and then in 1 month time, you can create a similar post with a different name. That's basically, it's a very pro-entrepreneur, let's say, law, but that's one reason why traditionally Estonia has a very low unemployment rate. That's actually at this moment, it's quite high, what's interesting, but otherwise traditionally very low. And also people simply it's easier and less stressful for employers to employ, because you know that you can also, it's not a marriage for life. But in Germany, for example, it's very, very difficult for startups, for example, when they lose money, it's very difficult for them to let people go. And that's why people also are employed a lot for like short-term contracts forever and ever. In many countries, in Estonia, you can actually take that risk and also kind of let reduce staff if you need to. This is something that startups had to do a lot with the COVID crisis, for example, and sometimes they re-employ the same people in 5 months' time. But this is something this is the flexibility you need to have if you're a fast-growing company, and this is something that Estonia can definitely offer. So that's maybe the core. The core there. The second part is that the country is very English speaking, so it's really easy to find English speaking staff. Around 10% of the population speak German as well. French, unfortunately, not so many French speakers there. But again, everything works by sort of email and online. So if the person are not sitting next to you, it doesn't mean that they, it doesn't operate well. So I would say that it is a good place where to have some sort of substance, and then the company can also benefit more from the Estonia's tax system. Thanks to that.
Thanks. Occasion for the last questions. Got 6 more minutes. Then I might ping another question to Mats. Sorry, you get a lot of hot potatoes. This one is an easy one. Where do you see the e-Residency program in 5 years from now?
So what I'd say, we are in a way a government-run startup idea. So of course, if our team could do a lot of things, then we would have it on Apple Store, download, become e-resident, start a company. It would be 3 minutes or something. You'd be done, right? So Estonia also needs to look at the security part, but we have a lot of, let's say, moonshot ideas. What we'd like to do is that we'd actually like to collect tax for other countries, because we do it very well, so that if some Estonian companies part, they need to pay tax in somewhere else as well, and they could kind of do it through our Estonia's tax office, and we would just forward the money. This is one thing. The second thing is sort of remote verification that we want to do for maybe EU nationals, potentially, that they can they don't have to go to an embassy and show their face. But currently, of course, this document is the highest kind of security level of any e-document in Europe, thanks to that. But we sort of, let's say, we want to make this process really faster and easier, that people can become e-resident more easily. And I think the second part is really, we want to do more to help companies kind of take these steps, like, for example, hiring someone in Estonia, having someone there. And that's sometimes seems really scary for a person if you don't live in Estonia to create some substance from there. But I think these companies actually win more than, so we try to also, like, let's say, give a lot more support in this field, actually helping companies, do something in Estonia.
Thank you very much. That sounds absolutely wonderful. We're very much looking forward to that. First of all, thank you all for having been part of this first webinar of the Estonian Chamber of Commerce in Switzerland. It is a pleasure to have had such a vivid exchange, to have genuine experiences from entrepreneurs, from a Swiss entrepreneur, banking on the rich wealth of know-how of all of you here present. Feel free to stay connected and involved with the Estonian Chamber of Commerce. You can follow on LinkedIn, you can become a member, as an e-resident, as a startup representative, so that's completely open. We will have on the 24th of November, we have an in-person event in Zurich with Annette Numa, who's head of government relations for Accelerate Estonia, and an international star as a speaker, very inspiring personality. And if you follow on LinkedIn, you will see all the upcoming events and upcoming possibilities. And absolutely delighted also to get your input if you have additional ideas. Finally, I have to say, Mats, also, we hope that this is the beginning of a series of e-residency webinars or in-person meetings with the Chamber. It's always a pleasure working together with you. So please come back virtually and also in person. You're more than welcome. Same goes for Oliver. Thank you very much indeed. It was a pleasure having you all here, and looking very much forward to catching up with all of you in the near future.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.